All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, starting it off this evening, we have a proclamation, discussion, consideration of proclamation 26-8, dedication to Rick Osborne. Can we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
President.
Okay, any council discussion? All right, I just want to give a quick thank you, as well as thank you to resident Bob Sayer, who asked us to do this resolution. I feel like he needs to be credited as a resident who really appreciates Ace Hardware and everything you've done. Just gonna give it a quick read. Whereas on this day, April 13th, 2026, the town council recognizes Rick Osborne for his dedication and service to the town of Richmond. And whereas Rick Osborne was elected to the town council on November 4th, 2008 and served one term. And whereas Rick Osborne, in addition to being a longtime business owner of Wyoming Hard Goods, Inc., Ace Hardware since 2014, supported youth in town through sponsorships of sports teams, and allowed scout troops to fundraise at the store. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the members of the town council of the town of Richmond hereby recognize Rick Osborne for the services and dedication he provided to members of the community, and it be further resolved that this proclamation shall become a permanent part of the official record of the town council of the town of Richmond. We have our roll call vote. So we'll go for that. Mr. Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. And come down and bring this.
Thank you for the years of projects that you've helped me with.
Family picture council. Did you want to do a family picture?
Yeah.
I don't know, that's up to the family. I don't know what to do.
There are an awful lot of people this way.
Yeah.
Council in there.
Great.
Right, 2020.
I'm gonna pretend to have to you.
I was-
I'm gonna have to in front of family.
Okay. Right.
Right next to your husband. I'm usually in the back row, but
I'm
right next to your husband. Erin is.
All people, she's taking a picture with it.
Tall people?
Oh,
In the back.
right over here. People in the back.
Building on Portuguese one in the back.
Did you get everybody?
Jeez.
Bananas.
No, actually nuts and bolts.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Nice looking family.
You take to a roll. The dates and stuff.
Oh, no, I didn't write it, but we'll fix it. All right.
About it.
No, we will.
Rick, 2014, I thought you were here since like 1950.
Oh, it was. I mean, it was
And you guys are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but don't feel pressure.
I know.
Okay.
No, you've been there and done that.
We do have the budget up next. I'd love for you to say. Can we have a motion, please, to open the public hearing on the proposed budget fiscal year 26-27?
President, move to, open the budget hearing.
I'll second. Okay, no second there. We'll go for a roll call vote. Council Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. So council's discussed the budget at length, but I understand Erin has a brief update for the public just to catch them up where we're at. So I'll turn it over to our town administrator. Chair.
Sharing to Zoom. So our budget process starts in early December, where our departments submit their budget requests in. We had several blizzards and other incidences that delayed some of those processes and short staffing, and I really appreciate the staff work on this level funding the line items we did last year and working hard to reduce the burden the taxpayers. Next slide. The budget education portion did pass by the voters on April 7th as is, and so that budget allocation is incorporated into our current budget as it stood recommended from the school committee and sent to the voters for a vote. So that is determined. We did send, for the public who was not at our last meeting, we did send a request to the school committee requesting that should state aid be restored, that difference be reduced from our line item budget that we would have to pay to the school district. So we're hopeful that that comes in, it would reduce that portion more. So next slide. So coming out of the finance workshops from our finance committee, we had a budget that started out with some reductions. We made some community service reductions, as well as we removed the additional police officer. And so as I go through some of these slides, you'll see the percentages that change among the departments and where we've started. I think it's important to see the hard work that was done, some tough decisions made by the finance board as well as the town council as we move forward in our budget process. So we started, you'll see the allocations change along the way, reducing it again. The council voted to make some reductions at our 31st budget workshop and changing the allocation. So as we move along in our municipal portion, while the education portion has remained the same, it does change the percentage of those based on an overall budget. So I think that's important to see, because I don't want people to assume a percentage at one point in the budget to where we've come to date. So next slide. So currently, this was after we had 2 budget workshops. To date, we're at our public hearing, and it shows our overall breakdown. And for the municipal portion, I think we spent a lot of time on the education portion, but public safety is only up 1.76. Our public works is up 4%. And that accounts for reallocating money back into our repair items, as well as our capital improvements. No, I'm sorry, that's in a different line. So our salary adjustments for the transfer station, and that should reduce in other items. Town hall is only up 0.25%. We made some reductions that were necessary. We reduced 2 clerical positions to part-time without benefits. And in public works, we did reduce a 1 position, removing it from the budget, removing the benefits. Community services were also reduced. They were brought to the line items that they had presented the year before, and some reduced along the way. So everybody shares in the reductions of this budget process. I think that's important to say, that not all numbers are in a negative, but they've all been reduced. Our other, which is primarily our capital improvement plans, we got to come up with a different name for that, but there is insurance, our workman's comp. There's a lot of line items in the other, and that has been reduced substantially with removing some of our capital improvement projects, down 11.95%. So today, the voters looking at a budget right now has 74% education, and then the breakout in municipality for public safety, 7.39, public works, sorry, where is that? 2.69, town hall 5.87, community services 8.82, I believe. No, that can't be it. 104. I'm missing public safety. Sorry, public safety is 7.39, works. What's the 8? Other. Sorry, other 8.82, which we're gonna name it something different next year. Capital improvement plus some, I think we should call it.
Mm-hmm.
So today is the first opportunity for the public to weigh in on the budget. And I just thought it was important to see the reductions along the way that the finance board, staff, and council have made. Next slide. Shows our tax levy proposed, which is at our cap currently. Right now, it is at our cap. We don't need permission to exceed the cap. And that is utilization of fund balance, as long with the reductions we discussed earlier. Next slide. So there is an opportunity this evening, as well as a second public hearing on May 5th, for the public to weigh in on this budget. May 19th is our deadline to adopt the budget as well as the ballot question. That's a tight turnaround.
Mhm.
So if we are ready May 5th,
We should.
that is fine as well, but I just want to make the council aware that May 19th is our last deadline to make any changes in order to have the ballots printed for the June 2nd referendum. And then voting is on June 2nd for every resident, knowing that the education portion has been finalized by the voters on April 7th. So I think that's important
Mhm.
to understand that while our budget does incorporate what the voters voted on April 7th, that is the municipal portion being considered ultimately by the voters, again, on June 2nd.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So before we go to public council, anybody have anything briefly they'd like to say about the budget before we go to it?
Madam Chair.
Sure.
Yes, so the last couple meetings, we've discussed the utility usage, electricity at the police station, and we've asked for some better numbers. I'd like to know if we have those available yet.
Chief, are those available or?
I have not seen the kilowatt usage from last summer, something that the finance director and I will work on. And I
Okay.
haven't heard back from Island Energy as to, I believe it's accurate now with that smart meter, and it wasn't accurate before, which is why it's spiked.
Okay,
I believe we can bring it down, but I just want to make sure that we didn't have more usage last summer than we did a while.
okay. Thank you. Thank you for checking.
All right, so we'll have that by May 5th, I presume.
Yes.
A few weeks. All right, excellent.
Madam President?
Sure.
Coming in again on the 11th hour, the biggest thing that concerns me with the budget is dipping into the fund balance of the $1 million. You know, because again, I think I mentioned the last time that it's $1 million this year. Next year will be another million plus another million on top of that. So then we're down to using 2 million next year. And then the fund balance will be down to roughly 3.2 million, if nothing else in between that, this, you know, the approval of that budget to next year. If there's nothing else that we have to dip into the fund balance for, I feel we're getting dangerously low in that fund balance. So, you know, again, the next council coming in after November, they got a bullish, process ahead of them to try and fill that gap of that $1 million. Again, if we lose the state aid, I know this is a election year, so that Cicilline with the Blue Ribbon Committee, where they want to pull 7.7 million from Charahoe as a whole. If that does come to fruition, we're going to be in real big trouble. That's why there's some big shoes that the next council is going to have to fill after November, because that will totally crush this town, even if it's only 5 million. All right, that they reduce the state aid to Charahoe, it'll crush us. That'll be, well, our share will be about 1.8 million. There goes your fund balance. Like I said, this is an election year, folks, so they're not going to pass it. But next year, after the election, they're gonna consider it very seriously. So we get that to look forward to. Thank you, Madam President.
Thanks. Let us know if you have any solutions, because up here, that's what we can provide. You know, so I know you're coming in at the 11th hour, like you've said a few times. We have another public hearing. If you have any to suggest, we'll definitely listen to anything. So with that, we'll go Councilor Palmigano.
Yeah, no, just to the counselor's point, I wanted just to bounce that off of the finance director. Did you have an opinion or anything to add on that fund balance concern that the counselor had highlighted?
Well, we can't fund it if we don't use it. We have to use the fund balance this year in order to pay for the school.
Mhm.
We have no choice. We have no choice.
And if we don't, we go over the cap.
Yes,
Right.
and we probably couldn't go over that much anyway.
And as far as the expenditures that we're using for the fund balance this year, are they more operational expenses or capital expenses? So for
It's
example,
Operational for the school.
Yep.
I mean, 100%.
so if that budget reduces next year, that's something which is not something in our control, but that could help to alleviate. the
It would.
concerns.
Awesome. Sure, go ahead, Erin.
Thank you.
I think it's important too that we safely looked at the percentage of fund balance we're utilizing. So it keeps us over the recommended. We're at 15
Yes, we're still, with this budget, we're still at 16.29.
16.29, so we still have the funds, and it is important to see where those are coming from. You know, and if you're looking at a whole from public safety, public works, town hall, those aren't the main uses towards that budget, and it is an education portion, but it's also and while we reduce that, capital improvements, one-time cost expenditures that would be weighed next year,
Mhm.
depending on how that goes, but this school district we've had our fund balance utilized by the school and by municipality for the last 3 years, because we have not raised the taxes
Mhm.
for residents. So that's an important note too, that we've either level fund or reduced taxes slightly for the last 3 years. So that is something to consider when we're looking at this budget overall.
Yeah. Definitely.
Um,
All right, let's go to the
I
public.
got one more question. The auditor's report, when I sat on the council recently, the 2 years in a row, we got the auditor's report and the council did discuss it. The first year, I was on with the auditor, and it really gave a good insight. And then the second year, we got the hard copy of the auditor's report, but we didn't have a meeting with the auditor, all right, that did the report. And, as far as, I know that, before you really start the next budget process, it would always be good to have that auditor's report as a springboard. That's basically a foundation going into the next year. And do we have the auditor's report from fiscal year ending 2025 June?
No. We requested an extension from the auditor on 2 purposes. Is one, we were extremely short-staffed in the finance office. As in addition, the auditor did not have all the information back to Department of Revenue that was needed. So an extension was granted. We found late last week we should be receiving that final audit, but those numbers were still in our safety nets that we use for fund balance. But the full report has not yet been finalized, because we did receive that extension from Department of Revenue.
Yeah, because traditionally, we've always gotten the auditor's report by January to discuss.
And I don't
Thank you
believe
so
we'll
much.
have printed copies, because we did cut that out of the bid.
Yep.
We can produce those copies, but there won't be full versions, because we did reduce that as part of the bid to reduce costs.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go to the public. Sure, go ahead.
Good evening, Council. Allison Crowe, President CEO of Wood River Health. I'll just make a couple of brief remarks. I apologize, I had trouble finding the proposed budget on the website, so I'm not exactly sure what the Finance Committee recommended. But we have requested level funding from last year. Last year, the Town Council gave us $5,000 subsidy. Just a couple of notes about how we provide services to the town of Richmond, as well as the surrounding towns, and the benefit that we bring to the community. In calendar year 2025, we saw almost 12,000 new patients. About 2,500 of those are Richmond residents. So it's about 20 to 25% of the folks that live in the town are receiving one of the many services that could be primary care, dental care, behavioral health, or a combination of all those. We've made investments in other areas like transportation, which we know is lacking, and we want that to be a barrier for our patients to seek care. So we've got some grant-funded vehicles, a grant-funded driver, so that we can pick patients up, bring them to their appointments. And just a quick note on the quality side, I presented in front of this committee before. All health centers are judged on a set of quality standards. There's 1,400 community health centers in the United States. And for the 3rd year in a row, our organization has gotten the Gold Quality Award, which is only given to the top 10% of all health centers in the United States. So that's a really big achievement. It's a lot of hard work. Just spoke with Chief Johnson about patient interaction he had, and our staff was very helpful with. It sounds like a little bit of money, but it's very important for each of the towns that we serve to provide that subsidy to us, and we really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry you had difficulty finding it on the website. It was not on the finance board page, not finance board, finance department page this year. Doesn't know I wanted to make offline. But it is available with our agenda materials. So if you go through clerk space, it is there. The finance board, just to answer your question about funding, how much Wood River Health received this year, the finance board recommended going back to fiscal year 2025, where it was 1,500. Last year, this council, I think, increased it on your request, but the finance board wanted to go back to that. And as you can see, we're at the cap. It's a very tough year. So without going to put through a bill and asking the state for permission to exceed the cap and asking the residents to back us on that, it'll be very difficult. But I do appreciate you coming here and sharing what Wood River Health does, because we all value everything they do for the community. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, so, I mean, again, if the council can give consideration to, you know, the council had level funded us at 5,000 for several years. And then there was a couple of prior, and then there were a couple of years where that's not the amount we received. So I see last year's amount as going back to prior year level funding. And I see my view is the other 2 years. So I would just, again, respectfully request the council reconsider, given the amount of services we provide to the number of people we provide it to.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Sure, quick.
Well, I think there's an opportunity here if this is something the council wants to do. If we reduce the utility budget line item for the police station, once we get those numbers, we could reallocate that to Wood River Health. But we're gonna have to determine where we're at when we get there, because as the chair said, we're right at 4%. So there's really no margin.
We understand the margins for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President? Oh,
Sure, yes.
question. You do a great job fundraising. I asked you that question a few years back, and you know, basically there's really no problem with money in the bank. You
I
know,
wouldn't say that, no, that's the conclusion.
Well, we're gonna let him finish and then you can respond if you don't mind. Just like,
Yes.
I have trouble hearing two people at once.
well, looking at, you know, your organization, it seems like that, you know, you're doing pretty good. And, you know, the amount of Richmond residents that, you know, you're servicing, is pretty adequate to what you're getting from the town. And Richmond right now is really in a pickle with money right now. And if it's something that you can do, if you need a few extra dollars in your bottom line to help, you know, service some of these folks, whether or not they be Richmond or Hopkinton or Westerly, whoever it may be, I would suggest maybe, you know, you guys put the effort out and do a little more fundraising and kind of alleviate that burden to the town here, because we got a real tough year and probably even a tougher year next year.
All right,
Thank
sure,
you.
go ahead.
I actually remember the question from a couple of years ago. Just to level set, if you were to look at our audited financial statements, which are publicly available prior fiscal year, we did end the fiscal year with a loss. So to say that we're doing well and have exceedingly amounts of money in the bank is not entirely accurate, respectfully. Fundraising is some of what we do. The majority of our revenue does come from building insurance. And I think if anybody that picks up the paper is well aware that primary care is in a crisis and primary care rates are not adequate to reimburse the work that we're doing. So we lose money on every single thing. It's dental, behavioral health, medical. The reimbursement we receive does not come anywhere near to touching the cost of the care that we're providing. So again, with all due respect, you know, we work really hard at all the levels of, you know, all of our revenues, sources of revenues, including fundraising. But, you know, again, if we value the town's contribution, if 1,500 is all the town can do, obviously we happily take that over zero, but would ask to have some dates.
All right, thank you. Any other members of the public?
Just while we're on that, I would request that we have the finance director give us the amounts that were allocated to Wood River, say for the past 5 years, so we can look and see what if the anomaly is 1,500 or the anomaly is 5,000. So we have a better contact.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the public? Anybody online? No? All right, can we have a motion to close our public? Yeah.
I have a couple of things. In looking at this since the last budget workshop, one of the things that we've talked about is trying, everyone is sacrificing and trying to make sacrifices so we can reduce the tax burden as much as possible and dip into the fund balance as little as possible. I think that's a good point as well. And when I looked further at the wage proposal that the administrator put forward, and the proposal, the way the budget is currently set is that the Public Works will all get a 3% increase, which is not a reduction from the initial initial proposal. There are reductions being made in other areas. And again, I think in the spirit of shared sacrifice, that we should consider making a further reduction to the Public Works. So I would propose that the proposal that the administrator put forward last time was that Public Works and then several other individuals, the finance director, the deputy finance director, the elections clerk, and the the elections clerk and the Josh Jordan, the zoning official, get 3%. I would propose that we reduce that to 2.5%.
Okay. Do we know how much that is offhand? Probably not, but I figured I'd ask. Okay. So that would be something we'd see in the next
That's
public
fine.
hearing,
I
if
just
that's
think we
okay.
should consider.
Yeah. Okay.
Madam President,
Sure.
what are you proposing for the reduction in the Public Works?
So instead of getting 3%, it would be 2.5%
2.5 also.
on wages. Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, I think it's just everyone's making a sacrifice, town hall staff's making a sacrifice. So I just think we need to try to find every little bit wherever we can. I think it's a fair compromise.
Okay. Sure. Go ahead, Erin.
So reducing just Public Works from 3% to 2.5%, or all the staff identified as 3%?
All the staff you identified as 3%, 2.5%.
Okay.
So that's the modification. Instead of having 3% at that level, it would be 2.5%.
All right. We'll see what that looks like.
I have an answer for Wood River if you want now, or do you
Um,
wait until next time?
That would be great.
Yeah, now would be good. Even though she's left, we'll hear the answer and have it available for next time.
For this year, she got 5,000. Last year, it was 1,500. For 24, it was 50,000. That was ARPA funds.
Right.
And then it's been 1,500 from fiscal year 23 down to fiscal year 2017. It's been 1,500 that whole time.
It was
From 16 down, it was 1,000.
okay. So for a long time, it was 1,500,
Yeah.
and then ARPA funds came, and actually, that was prior to my first term. I think that was
Yeah.
Council Palmigano's first term. A lot of that money went to various community services, including
Yeah.
Wood River Health, and they got 50,000 through that. And then we did 15 and then 5,000. Okay.
So 5,000 was this year was the only time that we've ever done 5,000.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity. I had to repeat it too, because I think that corner gets quiet. Any further council discussion? I'm really surprised there's no members of the public who want to speak on the budget, but I guess with only a $600 increase to the municipal side, that's what we get.
A motion to close public hearing.
Thank you so much. I'll second it. Any council discussion on closing the public hearing? We'll go for our roll call vote. Councilor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. So we don't need a motion on this evening, right? Because we got another public hearing. So we'll move on to our next item, which is another public hearing, this time for an incomplete application for an outdoor entertainment license for Richmond Smoke Cigar Lounge.
Madam President,
Yes.
move to open public hearing for the Richmond Smoke Shop Lounge with its incomplete application for an outdoor entertainment license subject to payment of fees, police chief confirmation, and zoning confirmation.
Second.
All right, we'll go for a roll call vote. Councilor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. Public hearing is open. Any council discussion on this before we go to the public?
Madam President,
Sure, go ahead.
how much do they owe?
That would be a question for maybe Kendra?
Just the
That's it?
Anybody from the public have anything they'd like to add about this license? Anybody online? All right, can we please have a motion to close our public hearing?
So
Close?
We got our
Second.
motion and our second. We'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
O'Shannell.
Yes.
Reynolds
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. We have an action on this item.
Yes,
Okay.
motion to approve the request from Richmond Smoke Cigar Lounge for an incomplete application for outdoor entertainment license, subject to payment of fees, police chief confirmation and zoning confirmation.
I'll second it.
Second.
Any council discussion on the item? All right, we'll go for a vote. Counselor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
O'Shannell.
Yes.
Reynolds
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. Next, can we have a motion to open our next public hearing for Wawaloom RV LLC?
Motion.
Yeah. go for it.
Motion to open the public hearing on the request from Wallaloom RV LLC, DBA Wallaloom Campground for an incomplete application for outdoor entertainment license, subject to police chief approval and license fees.
Second.
And our motion and our second to open the public hearing, we'll go for our vote. Counselor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
O'Shannell.
Yes.
Reynolds
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. Any council discussion before we go to the public? All right, anybody in the public or online? We have a motion to close our public hearing.
Madam President.
Sure.
move to close public hearing for Wawaloom RV LLC DBA Wawaloom Campground.
We got our motion, our second. We'll go for our vote. Counselor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
O'Shannell.
Yes.
Reynolds
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. All right, how about an action on this item?
Madam President.
Sure,
move
go ahead.
To approve Wawaloom RV LLC DBA Wawaloom Campground for an incomplete application for outdoor entertainment license subject to police chief approval and license fees.
Second.
Any council discussion? All right, we'll go for our vote. Counselor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
O'Shannell.
Yes.
Reynolds
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes.
Madam President,
Sure.
motion to approve, to open public hearing for discussion consideration of the request for Warwick Civic Orchestra for an incomplete application for an outdoor entertainment license, subject to zoning, confirmation and proof of insurance.
Second, just open public hearing. We'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
O'Shannell.
Yes.
Reynolds
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. Any council discussion?
Looks like a really cool event. It's a great event.
Yeah, they've done it the past couple of years. This year we're excited to partner with them with the 250th Commission. We're going to have a field day right before their orchestra. So we're all coordinating together.
Where?
Washington County Fairground.
Awesome.
Anybody from the public or online? All right, can we have a motion to close our public
Madam
hearings?
President, move to close public hearing.
Second.
All right, we'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
O'Shannell.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. Can we have an action? go
Motion
ahead.
motion to approve the incomplete application of Warwick Civic Orchestra for an outdoor entertainment license, subject to zoning confirmation and proof of insurance.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, we'll go for a vote. Counselor Colasanti,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
O'Shannell.
Yes.
Reynolds
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. Awesome. We've made it through our public hearings. We have a new hire up next. So I'll turn that over to our town administrator.
Yes, so Mr. Connor King is the recommended candidate following the vacancy of Kate Schimmel, who will be leaving us just shortly in May for other items. And so Connor, for everybody who knows, is the assistant town clerk in the clerk's office. Before he joined Richmond, he had a community service field anyway, as he worked in Tri-County Community Action as a housing specialist. And Danielle and I reviewed the other candidates, and based on, not only was Connor the most qualified, but based on his institutional knowledge, we believe he'll be an excellent fit personality-wise. He has understanding of how the government works, and knowing that this position is grant funded and ends December 31st. I think it's really important that the public know that this is not continuing on in the proposed budget, and Connor is aware of that. And we believe he'll be an excellent candidate. He'll help transition new staff hire to replace Connor's work in the clerk's office that has been budgeted for this year. So he'll be able to transition, which has also been a transitioning office, and help Kendra onboard that new staff member through the end of June. And so I am pleased to recommend him for this appointment.
Awesome. Do we have a council action on this item?
Motion. Yeah, motion to approve the appointment of Connor King as the Human Services Director.
Actually, Madam President, I had a question first.
Yep, we do motions second, so I'll second it. Now we're opening council discussion. I think I have a few questions as well, but we'll go ahead. Go ahead, Councilor Colasanti.
Connor, Madam President, Connor, you've been here for a few years. Now that, you know, you're vying for the new director position there, what's your number one priority that you would like to see out of the gate to improve the office that you're going to be appointed to?
I mean, do you want to come to the podium just so,
Please.
I don't know if the microphone will catch you all the way back there. Feel free to answer whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. So my number one priority would be a continuation of the work that office has already been doing under Kate's direction. And as Kate has kind of generously explained the role to me, her priority is seniors in town. Access to behavioral wellness resources to senior residents is absolutely the priority because there are so few other resources available for seniors. Whereas there are other programs available, say for families, or the school, I believe, has a psychologist. So there is some other avenue for behavioral wellness and relief for other demographics, but seniors is absolutely the priority for that role, for this position.
I hate to admit it, but I'd be in that group. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any further questions?
Sure, Councilor Palmer.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if Connor remembered where our first work experience overlapped. I think
Yeah, Schneider Electric.
yeah, you were in HR. We were both in HR together, so I know his skill set. You may know him as the clerk here, but I know him as a very competent HR professional. So glad to see you revisiting some of those skill sets.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
I have to say, always smile, always very polite, always very congenial, you know, whenever I've walked in, and I've observed you with other folks too. So I think, you know, you got to jump ahead on some other people because, you know, you come off so damn friendly, which is good. I love it. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know you clarified it a little bit, Erin, but I just wanted to offer clarity too. Like, you understand, like, this is positions ending at the end of the year, unless you can find grants to keep it going, that would be fabulous. But also a resignation from the town clerk's office is forthcoming because you're not going to continue full-time through the end of the year. Is that accurate?
I'm not sure we need the official resignation because the
Okay.
hours have to be filled, and so I did intend to post the job for the assistant
Okay.
with the reduced hours as council.
Okay.
So
So,
if council would like a resignation, I'm not sure we need it, but I did plan on publishing the advertisement once this is formalized
Okay.
to attract his replacement in the clerk's office for the part-time, non-vetted position that is currently incorporated in this budget. I think also an important item to bring up, and I'm glad, you know, Connor had seniors as the priority, is now with a recreation director on board. Those services that Kate was doing during that time frame is going to be filled with Robin. So we did feel that the seniors didn't need that priority. So the Human Services Office, we're making space in the senior center.
Yeah.
Should Connor be the selected candidate to be over there working there. Many of the programming happens out of there anyway. And so we believe that would be a natural transition temporarily as this role is scheduled to end at the end of December. So we feel, you know, it's not going to be a whole office renovation. We're
Yeah.
very creative here in Richmond and what we utilize for office space. But once the transition occurs, I felt it's important to notify the public that that office will be located over at the community senior center.
definitely, that's probably a good spot for it, for sure. Awesome. So thank you for answering my initial question and giving us some additional info. So with that, we'll go, you have spoken twice in the item. Do you want to go a third time?
Your office is going to be in the senior.
In the senior center. Yeah.
Oh, really? Chief, what are you going to do? You're going to take the bars off the one of the extra holding tanks that you have?
We'll find a room for.
Upstairs.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, we'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Thank you.
Welcome to continuing on the part. Perfect. So now we have our consent agenda. I think we have to pull the minutes because I don't think Counselor Colasanti was here at that meeting yet. Anybody have anything else they'd like to pull? All right, I will make a motion to approve consent agenda 1A.
Second.
And we'll go for our vote. Counselor Colasanti. Just abstain.
Yes.
Madnick.
Abstain.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Bet you weren't there either.
I was, but I left halfway through.
Oh, that's true.
See, now
Okay.
you guys
Yeah.
get passed out on the table here. So.
Threw me off. All right, can we have a motion to approve consent agenda item 2, A, B, C, D, E, and 3?
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion on it? All right, we'll go for our vote. Counselor Colasanti,
Guess I got to abstain from that one too.
if you'd like.
Yeah.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and myself, yes. All right. On to public forum. All right, the purpose of public forum is to give members of the public an opportunity to address the town council about items that are not on the agenda. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. You will have one opportunity to address the council during public forum. This is out of courtesy of others who wish to speak to ensure we have time for all. There'll be a timer that will go off when your 3 minutes are up, so you know to finish. If you need more time, we welcome you to submit your comments in writing to the town clerk to be included as a part of the record communication section of the agenda. All comments should be directed to the president and not any other person present. This is all per our rules and procedure. So with that, do we have anybody in the public for a public forum? Or online? Oh, Mr. Sayer. But state your name for the record, please.
I'm Sayer, Richmond. First of all, I want to thank the council for recognizing Richie. Him and his family, a lot of you won't know, but I'll know, and probably Mike would know, that he managed Fleming's department store when we first moved down here.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's given service throughout. Tonight, I want to talk about Punch Bowl Trail again, and I don't want to. I understand that where the trail turns to a trail, I've asked for no parking signs and all that kind of stuff. And I know it takes time, but there's a different problem now. There's 2 humongous rocks that somebody dropped in the middle of the trail. So if anybody get hurt down there or a fire broke out, nobody's getting through. I mean, these rocks are like this. And I'm thinking that it was probably the tree service that did it, because they had a bunch of wood down there. They didn't want people stealing their wood. But any of the vendors that are hired by the town to do any of this kind of work should be notified that they can't block a fire lane. I mean, it is a fire lane. It's the only access to get into that, into the woods down there. And with all of the dead trees that are down and everything else, and there's people that hike, there's people that take their dogs down, sometimes leashed, sometimes unleashed. I don't care, but I mean, as long as they don't bite. There's horses that go down there, and there's motorcycles and 4-wheelers that probably shouldn't be, and most of them are underage. And I'm not a guy to complain about that, because if I had a motorcycle when I was young like that, I probably would have done the same thing until the chief called me. But it's it's a dangerous situation. So if we can move that no parking signs or no blocking signs, or I don't know what you have to do to people. I mean, people just don't think.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you
you.
for bringing it to our attention. Anybody else from the public? Oh, did you want to respond?
I just- I had a-
He'll keep his seat.
Yeah, just have a question. I mean, if it was a tree service, can they just do that and block the road without informing the town? I mean, is that something that
Doesn't make
can they
sense.
do that, or do they have to get authorization, or at least make?
It's a
awareness?
gray area, but it's not what you would expect in a spirit of cooperation. If they have blocked access to, they become liable if there's an injury down there and we can't access it because of those boulders, or we're delayed in response because of those.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the information.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah.
the thing called orange cones.
Well, yeah, all right.
EDM that was in charge of that project,
Name for the record, please, and then you can go ahead.
Gary Stoner,
Thank you.
Richmond. I just want to bring to the attention of the council and ask that the issue of dead trees falling down, firewood or forest fire feeding is everywhere in the town of Richmond. nowhere it seems as much as on Smallpox Trail, but I don't go down every road. I know we have a public service department that's limited in the number of people that work there, the kind of equipment that they have. But we have a sort of a disaster in the making in this town, I believe, as a function of what's left from the gypsy moth invasion. And I don't see any proactive efforts to figure out how the town, in concert with the residents, in concert with, I don't know who else, might begin to chip away, bad analogy, but might begin to work on diminishing this potential threat to many, many residents and many, many dollars worth of homes and properties. And to sit idly by and not talk about it, not generate potential solutions is wrong. So I would appreciate this issue being evaluated, being put on agendas for the appropriate people, and some ideas generated for what might be done. So I don't know. I could cut some of the dead ones that are in on my property and drag them out to the road. I have limited capacity to do that, but some kind of teamwork, I think, is necessary to try to begin to address this problem. I see it as a problem. Maybe other people don't, but I would appreciate some attention to dead trees, dead wood.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Madam President,
Anybody else from the public? Sure.
I agree with Mr. Stoner 100%. My wife and I were walking down the Yellow Dot Trail at the end of Foxbridge Drive, and when you go in, the tree fell. It couldn't have been more than 40 feet in front of us. And what's happening is all the roots are now rotted. You just got the clay ball at the bottom of the tree. Those are falling. And that tree was no more than 40 feet in front of us. And it scared the living heck out of us. And, you know, even the property in front of us and behind us, I was in my backyard and all of a sudden a big tree came crashing down. And I really think it's the people that are in charge of these land acquisitions, you know, whether it be the land trust or the Audubon Society, whoever it is, they have to get in there and clean this stuff up, because God forbid, I've got 10 grandkids. If 4 of my grandkids were with us that day, you know, these kids like to just run ahead of you. I mean, one of my grandkids could have been in front of us and that tree could have come down, all right on them. You know, it's very, very dangerous situation right now. They really shouldn't allow people to use some of these walking trails right now until they correct the problem. And I don't think it really has anything to do with the residents of Richmond. It's the people that are holding these lands in trust that are responsible, all right, for these things. And it's very, very dangerous.
Thank you. Do you have anybody else from public? I saw Miss,
Madam Chair,
yes.
just real quick. Thanks for bringing that up to our attention, Mr. Stoner. I'm going to make a motion to add to the May 5th agenda discussion and consideration of the Richmond Environmental Hazard and Resiliency Commission.
Sure, second. Motion to add something to the next agenda. Any further council discussion on that? We'll go for a roll call vote. Councilor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. All right. Thank you so much, Counselor. Go ahead, Joyce. Please state your name for the record.
Joyce Flanagan, Richmond. Just to back up for a minute, you're in a tough spot because some of the land that we're talking about is managed by the Richmond Land Trust. Some of the land is managed by DEM. A lot of the land is managed by the Nature Conservancy. Some of the lots on our street, which are unoccupied, fall into the same category of too much dead wood. That's a fire hazard. So your role as a council is complicated by the fact that we're talking about public property and private property. And I think you need to make a distinction. You can't really lump it all together.
Yeah.
So the private component of it, just to add to what Gary mentioned, I guess if we were able to organize neighborhoods in such a way that we could hire a community chipper for a day.
Yeah.
But again, look at us, we can't really drag these trees out anymore. So we're limited in our capacities, and it's somewhat overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
And I don't
Oh.
think it's exclusively your problem, your issue, but it's a concern. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Sayer, we usually let people go one at once.
It's this subject, I got a suggestion. So,
Minute and a half. How's that?
that's good. I don't even need that.
I'm trying to be flexible, but I just.
Well, again, I'm an old guy that moved down here a long time ago, but when we first moved down here, I understand why they don't do it anymore, but they used to go and they used to put paint on different trees that they wanted to come down. And they used to let people go in there and just cut it. They cut firewood. There's a lot of people that would enjoy taking the firewood for free and everything else. So maybe something like that could be brought back again. I understand not dropping the trees, but if they're dead and laying there and everything else, might be able to get if you put it out there on the notification, you might get a lot of people that would volunteer.
Thank you so
I
much.
take care of my neighborhood.
Thank you. Councilor Holmeshaw.
Yeah.
22 seconds.
22 seconds. Yeah, no, thank you. I think too, we will dig into this in the next agenda item. I think there's also the component of liability that we have to be aware of. When the town gets involved in either providing equipment and we give it to residents and a tree falls, like there's a liability thing. We need to figure that out together. That's important. Also, it just is a reminder, we all know that June 1st, we're coming up on hurricane season. So the life cycle of the decay of these trees, obviously there was the infestation, then there was the second year of infestation, and then you had colonization by all these animals that took advantage, and now we are at dead time. One big windstorm, and these things are going to be coming down like popcorn out of a popcorn maker. So we are going to have some either power issues, damage to structures that they fall on, or God forbid anyone injured. So we do need to get ahead of this.
Awesome. Thank you.
23 seconds.
I didn't have a timer. I was kidding with him. I was trying to give him the rest of the time left. Do we have anybody else from the public or online for a public forum? All right, on to reports.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Yeah.
Someone's phone keeps going off. And I'm concerned that
Might be a point of
it might be
information.
an emergency. I want to make sure. It's been just constant. I just want to make sure there wasn't something emergency going on. Apologize.
All right.
I hope so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
On to reports.
Yes, so first item is our capital funding request for our water system. I'm very pleased to report that our Representative Zener's office has identified our project as one of his 27 community project funding submissions. It is a $1.084 million project for our water system, and this is quite substantial. Now, it's very preliminary. It has to go through funding allocations and such, but it has been identified. We do believe it's a strong project because the Department of Health is on board with that project, and it includes tank mixers. It includes improvements to both our pump houses. It includes some chemical storage improvements, security improvements, automation. It is a large, multi-faceted project, and we're hoping to utilize RIB financing to do the match offset that. So if we are very creative in how we do that for our loan forgiveness, we are very hopeful that at least we can do the large items. The tank mixers are going to be a requirement as we've gone to a chlorination system. Again, not any choice. We were under Department of Health consent order, but we're improving our water system greatly, and we are appreciative that at least we've been earmarked as that funding request from Mr. Zener's office. So that is a good news.
Great news.
Great news.
Do you need anything from us, a motion or anything? Or just this is an update?
This is just an
Thank you.
update. Yeah. No, this is just an update. My next, if there's no other question.
Yes, Madam President.
Sure, go ahead.
The chlorination system, that's been done?
Done.
Okay. So there's no more dead birds getting into the system?
That would not the entire project
That is
at all.
old news.
It's actually
That is old
chlorine
news, yeah.
injectors, but yes, that is well beyond us and I'm glad.
Good.
Yeah.
Are we using a different company? Or are we
That
using the same company?
where our water operator is the same. The individual who did that project was our previous water operator.
Okay,
But that is our finalizing those bills, but that project, we are online. We've been online for quite some time. So that is all done.
beautiful.
Yeah. Mhm.
I have a quick question. I know you received letters from myself, Rep. Cotter. Did you get one from the Department of Health as well? Because I know you said they're on board. Did they do a letter?
They didn't do a letter, but they were part of the initial questions.
Okay, that's good. And then the town administrator in Hopkinton also submitted a letter.
Correct, yeah.
So hopefully we can get anybody else who's outstanding to submit their letter.
I received word that the senator had provided it directly, however, I haven't seen that.
Okay, it'll be good to have. That's all I had.
Next item, Kendra, if you would not mind sharing. So a few months now, our website launch is underway. We're getting great positive feedback. It is much easier to use. And I think an important portion to learn for the public is on our calendar page is that you have to go there's meeting and events. Yep. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful website. So our committees have been so actively doing a lot of events. And so I really think it's important that everybody see what's available in the community now that probably even a year ago, we didn't have some of these activities happening. So if you go up, Kendra, to events, if you select over. So these are the large portion of our events happening. The Conservation Commission has a composting event happening. They have the recreation. Our April vacation camp is going. We have our Lunch and Learn series from Human Services happening that has some estate planning. So I really want to make sure that the public is getting used to visiting our website to see those events because we're trying to actively publish on that. Mahjong lessons is becoming very popular. Our registration is out both times and we're going to an advanced lesson for everybody to continue on. But if you want to click over to the May events, Kendra. We have the 250th creativity contest, that deadline's on there, all the information's there. Our very popular longtime Huck Finn Fishing Derby is what it's called. I have a hard time not calling it Huck Finn Day, but it's happening for the event. And then the Conservation Commission is doing another talk series on the bare necessities. So this was just simply an information, scroll down to make sure you toggle in between meetings because that is what shows up to events. And there's a lot of events happening for the community by our different boards. So I'm really appreciative of that.
Awesome.
So our next item is, unfortunately, we had an incident on our Facebook page and I removed the comment and disabled the comments on future postings, knowing we did have a council meeting coming up. I was not aware at the time that we didn't have a social media policy that protected probably the removal of that comment. And so at a minimum, I think the council should take some sort of stance or give us guidance on what they would like to see for a social media policy in the town of Richmond. That is a asset. I do not want to not engage the public. I feel it's really well received. It's easy to post, and certainly we dual post on our website through Newsflash and notify me for everybody to subscribe. So please keep subscribing to notify me. But I do believe that based on the response that we should have some clear, consistent guidance on what the council would like to see. You are the legislative body. I did not want to any way infringe on any First Amendment rights, but I also feel like there has to be some sort of civility on the website and there has to be some guidance. It can't be very gray on what those guidance is going to be. So I have provided from the Secretary of State's office a proposal guide on making a social media policy, but in order to do that, I think the council has to determine, do they want to eliminate the comment potential completely or have some clear parameters on what, if we're allowing comments, on what they would be. I want to also inform the public and the council, no one has ever been blocked from the government page. It's really important that nobody is blocked. And that's sometimes a mechanism that you can do as a private sector, but you cannot do that as a public sector. So that does take consideration as we make this policy. And if you're removing one comment, you don't want to skew how the topic is. And so removing it in its entirety in that instance is what I felt was best, to not have that be something we considered, because removing the comment, I would never block an individual, but it wouldn't have prevented maybe further action on that until the council could determine a policy, because like I said, there was no policy.
Madam President,
I was gonna see what she wanted from us for 1 second, please. So before we go forward, do you want a motion from us to create that policy and then we'll discuss what we want to see and what we don't want to see? Or are you gonna do it whether or not we do a motion?
Oh, no, I think hands down, we need to create a policy, but how we create the policy, the council needs to give direction on whether we're gonna allow commenting or not. I don't feel like we should ever eliminate the sharing capability. I think that's really important, is all of our posts have been able to share on personal pages and people can discuss that. But as a policy is drafted one way or the other, I think a starting point would be on allowing comments or not.
All right.
Madam
So
President.
we'll kick it off then with a motion
Put a
to,
motion.
um,
I agree
one
with-
moment.
oh,
we
I'm
do
sorry.
follow Robert's rules, so just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
okay, go ahead with your motion, please. Motion.
I'd like to make a motion to put it on the next agenda to discuss the social media policy regarding the public comments directing towards the town hall or individuals in the town hall or public officials.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. I have a question. Why would we not discuss it tonight? Why are we waiting until next meeting?
We want to come up with a policy. So what you can do is come up with a draft policy, and then we can use that for a springboard. You can
Okay,
talk with Mr. Zangari, because there are some legal parameters, I'm sure, all right, that we have to kind of skirt through and around and.
okay, so you made a motion to put it on the next agenda. I thought you meant put our discussion on the next agenda. Your motion is to ask town staff to draft a policy for review at the next council meeting.
Exactly.
Can we amend friendly amendment to amend that motion to read that, please?
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
So before we go and take action on that, I
Yeah.
think,
We'll have a
again, we
discussion.
need some sort of direction
For sure.
before we create it.
For sure. I definitely have thoughts on that we'll get to. Go ahead, Councilor Palmigano.
Yeah, thank you. I think, as you had said, that our page is shared, the government page is shareable. And, my view is if I'm a resident, I'm going there, I want to see what the town is putting out information. It's a unidirectional kind of town sharing information. I go there, I see what the town has. If I want to share that page and I want to make a comment on my own sharing on my own area, that's fine. I can do that. But, I'm in agreement that if the town page doesn't have comments, it doesn't prevent someone from commenting, but after they share it their own way. That keeps our information, the bulletin board we want to have there, what the message we want to get out to residents, and then anyone can feel free to take it and run with it and go where they want to go with it and share it.
Madam Chair.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, this is an interesting discussion point. Social media is unique, right? When we've lived with it for a number of years now. I know some of the people in this room have heard me say we don't govern by social media. There's a lot of different comments on different opinions that can be shared. I feel that as a government entity, town hall, town staff, we provide factual information. If there's a mistake, we correct it. There's not opinion shared. This is what the town is doing, where a lot of it is emergency information. There's a lot of good information shared during the blizzard and other fall storms. I don't necessarily believe that we need comments when we're sharing information because we are not in a deliberative body on social media. This is the deliberative body. If you have something to say, you can write a letter to town council. You can write a letter to town admin. You can, email, right? You can call people. But if you have something to say when we're deliberating about something in front of us, that podium is where we do it. So I have no issue turning off commenting from the information we share from the government page. And I agree with Councilor Parmigiano where it should be allowed to be shared. And then if there's going to be lively debate on it, that's fine. But again, we don't govern by social media. So people can comment on it outside of the government entity. I made that clear. So I'm agreeing with what Councilor Parmigiano said. I just don't believe when the town government shares it that we should allow comment because we're not using that to make policy decisions as part of the council. We do that here in this building.
All right. You want to go ahead?
Just, I would echo Councilor Madnick, Councilor Parmigiano. We don't post things looking for feedback. If we want feedback, we'll do a survey pursuant to our newly adopted policy from Councilor Parmigiano. So I agree. We can turn off commenting. If people have a question about something that's been posted, there's a direct message option. There are email options to get an answer to their question. So I agree. I think turning on commenting just leads to having to have someone moderate it and then being the judge of whether the comment violates the policy, doesn't violate the policy, all of that. So I agree.
All right. So you have already gone, my turn.
Yep,
if you don't mind.
after you.
So I am going to be, I guess, the one who says that I want to leave comments on. I feel like that is a outlet for a lot of residents. I agree that we don't necessarily govern on social media. We say social media, but the town really only has Facebook. And I will say Meta is the worst at giving me notifications from people in the public. I will see comments when I'm scrolling and not have a notification for it. So if I don't respond, that's why. So I don't think it's the most effective way to have people reach out to me personally or the government in any way. But I do think that comments should be left on because it is an opportunity for people to share what they think and share what their thoughts and have I hope that people can have a nice conversation, a nice debate about it. And I don't think that anybody should be blocked or I know you haven't done that or comments should be turned off. Because part of social media's algorithms is the more comments you get and the more likes you get, the more people see it. So if we're trying to get people to see our content, unfortunately, the more comments we have, the more views we'll get. So I think it's a tool that we could use to get that. I do think that it should not be the job of any town staff to monitor it. So we could have some kind of disclaimer that says this page is not monitored by anybody. If you want us, reach us through email, phone, etc. And go from there. I feel like I had more thoughts on it, but now they're leaving me. But my main thought is I think we should just leave it as it's always been. Very limited responses, interactions. Oh, my other thought was yes, when it comes to private individuals having and sharing online, if they are a government employee, official, appointed official, that includes Conservation Commission members, Dog Park Committee members, all of them, planning board members, if they're sharing something that is government information to then private groups, there's thousands of Facebook groups, it's absurd. They can't also not have people blocked. And I know that we have appointed officials and employees who share from their personal page. They're sharing the town government, whatever the town government shared, they're then sharing it into a group. If they have somebody blocked and they're a government employee, they're violating somebody's First Amendment right because it's your private page, but you're using it for official purposes. So I think that should be included in the policy as well. That way appointed and employees understand that they can't do that anymore if they choose to continue to use that resource. I think that's all I had. Sorry, I'll be the one who says leave the comments on, but I hope I at least explained why. Councilor Parmigiano, I saw your hand.
Yeah, thank you. And I just think it does lead into the discussion that maybe as part of the social media policy, we should have a conversation around social media activity, not only from any appointed but elected officials engaging or continuing the engagement online I do think it's interesting if I have a personal Facebook page and I see the Recreation Commission announce the Easter egg hunt, if I share that announcement to the community page just to reinforce that, and I don't have anyone blocked, but if I did, I can do that from my personal page. If I share it from my town council page, I can, that would be different. But as an individual, I think there's a line there. That's why I think we need to have a advice or discussion about social media, because we obviously have some differences of opinion and there's only going to be one truth. So I don't know what that is right now. But I do think also we've had a lot of instances where these pleasant conversations devolve very quickly into back and forth and they threaten OMA violations. They also paint a picture of the receptivity or lack of receptivity of this council and this government. I think we have to have a conversation around that. It's to be healthy as part of that discussion. My 2 cents.
Go ahead, Councilor Colasanti.
My idea is with you 100%. It's not that I want to shut off any dialogue, but let's face it. You know, I have been the target of a lot of it 2 years ago. I'm not on social media. I don't believe in social media when you're trying to discuss an issue. And when you get threatening comments because you have a difference of opinion, or they don't like the way you're dressed, they don't like maybe your attitude towards a particular item and whatnot. I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's just gotten so nasty, you know, and I can only think of when Charlie Kirk passed, when he got assassinated. I mean, some of the vile comments that were made by supposedly fellow human beings, where they said they were glad he got a bullet in the head, you know, whatever. I mean, it was, I mean, subhuman when people make comments like that, just because somebody has a difference of opinion. It just amazes me. So, you know, I think coming up with a policy that if any of this stuff does get directed to us, it'll go right to the appropriate channels to have it taken care of. Because it's out of control. It really is.
Thank you. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So I think it's important to note that the recent incident provided me, I stopped comments because I felt that that was the safest way to have a handle on it, why I could learn more about it. I did not believe, I didn't know that we didn't have a policy at the time. And so I'm not recommending one measure over the other. However, I do think it's important that there is other items that we need to consider as if we develop this policy, is that those comments are now being considered public documentation that we must maintain. So that's one consideration of that. We also have several boards and committees that run town official government pages. They have, you know, recreation, we have conservation commit, several entities have a Facebook page, and it's a great way of getting information out, but those are volunteers. And so whatever policy should be uniform to all. And that's important to understand that this would be part of that. I do believe we should get some serious clarification about what individuals do in the public sharing on their personal page, that, you know, there has to be some sort of separation from town staff or volunteers who serve our community in different capacities that may unwillingly know that they're trying to share and get information out, and then they're saying that we can't block. So I definitely think that needs to be further vetted to determine that. I do know that if you're an elected official and you maintain an elected official page, that you cannot block. That is the standard. But I wasn't aware of volunteers and staff. So I think we should definitely get that. However, staff managing a town page or with a town representation cannot do that. So I do believe there's some clarity, because not all like to have a totally public life. And so a separation of that is important. So I do believe we just need some sort of kind of, yes, you want to go in this direction for certain items, and then Chris and I can work on developing that policy, which should happen regardless. I
Mhm.
think it's important. We're in a social media, digital age, and this is something that should be addressed as we evolve on how we communicate with our residents, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for looking into whether the private or personal pages would cross over into employees and volunteers, because I don't know. I just stand by what I already said, where I have been blocked by an elected official, and they're sharing items from their personal page into the Richmond RI community. Like, I can't see that, and that directly impacts my community. The elected official is not sitting at this dais, I will say that. They live in another community, but it's not right, because I feel like even though it's your personal page, you're sharing town business and I can't see it. So it just doesn't feel right. So I would love clarity on that, because and then that would be a council decision of, even though we can, should we tell our employees, hey, if you choose to block somebody, then we don't want you to share the information, because we want everybody to see the information. We want everybody to be invited to the derbies and the summer camps. So, any further council discussion? I think I'm off my soapbox. All right, so we do have a motion and a second for a draft policy to be presented to the council. We'll go for a roll call vote. Councilor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palusano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. All right. That's the end of town administrator's report. It's my understanding that the Wild and Scenic Stewardship Council is going to be on the next agenda. I don't think we need a motion there. So we'll go on to unfinished business. Yeah, skipping right ahead. Discussion and consideration of amendments to the Richmond Code of Ordinances, 5.20, hawkers, peddlers, and door-to-door salespersons with advertisement. This has been up a few times. Am I going to staff or am I going to you, Councilor Palmigano?
Thank you. I'll just
Yeah.
say, I thank you for the solicitor for making the modifications and the feedback that council had provided. And I think, I'll just stop there and see if staff has anything else to add, or if there's any other comments. This is simply a final review before it's going to a public hearing. So, thank you.
All right, do you have a motion to advertise for public hearing?
Sure, I'll make a motion to advertise for a public hearing for the discussion considerations to the amendments change to Richmond Town Code of Ordinance, Chapter 5.20, entitled Hawkers, Peddlers, and Door-to-Door Salespersons, with authorization the town clerk to advertise for public hearing.
Second.
All right, we got a motion or a second. Any council discussion or questions?
Madam Chair.
Yeah, sure.
So I was reading through this, section 3, permit requirement. It talks about solicitors shall wear and display a lanyard identifying the solicitor, the entity he, she represents, and the date of expiration of the license. So we had previously discussed the fee for the permit. Is that going to cover the lanyard, and is the town going to provide a uniform lanyard for every license? Okay, so that's something we're going to provide as part of the permit application. Just want to clarify that.
And I believe it's in there that it'll be covered at all costs. Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
The only thing, I mentioned this to Councilor Palmigano offline as well. I think that the registry, the no-knock registry, has to have an expiration date / renewal date or an update date. So, for instance, it'll be updated quarterly. So people who have called and say, hey, I want to be added to the registry will get added, and it'll be effective at the beginning of the next quarter. So each quarter, the door-to-door people will have to make sure they've got the updated list. As long as they're working from the updated list when they're doing their sales calls, they're protected.
Yeah.
I don't think we should still go to public hearing. We can make that adjustment between now and then, but that's my only comment.
Sounds good.
And I thought it was a great idea because it also adds some protection to the vendors, so that they have a kind of a leeway, so they're not getting caught in they're going out there and someone says, well, I filed something and they're like, well, I don't have it updated. It gives almost a revision date. It was a great idea to allow for a structure for those people that want to maintain their privacy, but also allows the vendors to have that peace of mind. It also doesn't flood the office with all these anomalies. It really solves 2 additional problems. So thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. Wasn't a big fan of the registry, but I think that helps solve the problem.
Yeah.
And sure, go ahead.
Again, coming in on the 11th hour, I did read it, and, it's not really all that, intricate, but just out of curiosity, the reason why the ordinance is being revisited, were there issues with the old ordinance?
Yeah.
And what people were doing?
Yes. Yes, towards the beginning of our term, we received a lot of feedback about people coming door to door. There was a Segway guy going around for a couple months there. Respectfully, not to dial back to our prior conversation, but a lot of those complaints were on Facebook. Not a single person emailed me about, well, actually, a few people emailed me about it, but the majority of it was complaints from Facebook. So we looked into this to help people maintain their privacy without violating First Amendment rights towards people who are canvassing for religious or political or civic. There's another one I'm forgetting. Reasons.
Nonprofit.
Nonprofit. Thank you so much, Jim.
Yeah, I read it. I don't have a problem with revisiting and revamping the ordinance.
Thank you so much. So we did have our motion, our second. Any further council discussion? Go for our vote. Councilor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Wilcox, yes. Thank you. I lost my space. On to new business. The first new business, request from Councilor Madnick and the Economic Development Commission Chair. Take it away, Councilor Madnick, with your.
Okay, so Madam Chair, here's how I'd like to do this. So I'm going to provide an introduction to the council and to the public on why this is on the agenda. And then I'm going to hand it over to I would like to hand it over to our Economic Development Chair to speak in more detail on why this is here. I'd like to do that prior to making a motion because there's been a very robust discussion ongoing in emails between the EDC chair, myself, and our town planner on how to handle this. I think this is something important that the council should address, and we'll see kind of where it goes. So there's quite a bit for the public. There's a robust attachment to the agenda. I'm just going to provide the executive summary on the problem and the recommendation and hand it over to our EDC chair to discuss. So the EDC is required by town ordinance to be notified of any potential changes to resource use or development and is required to serve as an advisor to the council, but currently is not directly involved with zoning or ordinance changes. So in summary, the EDC is left out of the process workflow, right? Unfortunately, that's the way that our regulations and our ordinances are defined right now. In my belief, it's an unintended omission. So the outcome of this is the EDC recommendation. A recommendation is not requested or it's not provided as part of a formal advisory recommendation from the planning board when the council is considering a change to zoning ordinances or other ordinances for that matter. Previously, the only way for the EDC to provide input was either to show up to the planning board meeting and speak to it, and that isn't caught on the record, or the EDC provides a letter to the council that goes into communication. So it doesn't actually go into the record of why we're making a change to either a zoning ordinance or another town ordinance that may affect economic development. I provided a recommendation after reviewing some of the governing documents. Has to do with currently 2 ordinances, chapter 18, which is planning board recommendations to the council, and then chapter 4, which is proposals concerning economic development. So the reason I requested this, and I did this in partnership with our EDC chairperson, is we want to get the Economic Development Commission in our government workflow when we're making decisions, so we can get input on when the council makes a decision. Since we are not subject matter experts, right? We push that onto our volunteers and our boards and commissions to provide us with input to our policy discussions and our policy decisions. This council has been pushing very hard for economic development in this town with a myriad of different ways. One of the biggest things we're doing right now is we're involved in the Main Street RI cohort. It's the first one that Rhode Island's done. It's through the Main Street America program, which myself, Councilor Palmigano, our town planner, Talia Gillette, and our EDC chairperson, Gary Parker, are all involved in. So this actually kind of came out of discussions that we had in the Main Street RI cohort. So I'm gonna finish talking. I'm gonna leave it up to Gary to explain it in more detail for you. Where's yours, Gary?
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chairman, thank you very much. Councilor Madnick, thank you very much. Yeah, the robust conversations that have been happening actually between Councilor Madnick, Councilor Palmigano, Mr. Gillette, and myself at some of our workshop meetings. It's sort of an unintended, unexpected consequence of these workshops. Is Councilor Madnick very, very astutely put it, the EDC has not been incorporated into the workflow per se, even though, in according to charter and even state law, EDC does have a formal role in advising the council on economic matters. Especially when it comes to policy changes and things like that. And what we recommended was that the EDC would have a formal deliverable, if you will, to your council. But we would like, in sort of practicality, to have that advisory opinion, if you will, and I think we thank so we have some terrific statutory expertise. I don't know if that's the right term, ma'am, but the idea that during the process, the Economic Development Commission would have an opportunity to formally weigh in on that board's decision. Now, as Councilor Madnick pointed out, the only way we would know, for instance, if the planning board, and planning board is only one element of it. Title 18 is only one piece. Title 5 is another piece, business licenses and things like that. The only way we would know if something was going to be proposed was basically when it came out on the agenda. And even though I myself and other EDC members would show up at the planning board, it wasn't the right forum for a public forum. It wasn't a public debate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we would raise our hands and council and Chair Demises, if he had the time and the brain space, could incorporate it, but it was ad hoc. We'd like to basically formalize that relationship, not just with the planning board, but with any commission. And in fact, we remember about a year and a couple of months ago when some items were brought up regarding maybe, if you recall, the electric contracting and things like that. That's a massive economic element. And as a SME, if you will, for economic development, seeing an economic activity, seeing that at a meeting, at the agenda, is like, oh my gosh, now we're in reactive mode and we don't have the opportunity to provide good reasoned analysis. And some of it might be in accord, some of it might be in opposition with what's recommended, but at least you have the information. At least the people crafting, including the administrator, at least crafting ordinance, they have that second set of eyes. That's all it really is. It's just due diligence. And Councilor Madnick wants to form, and we agree. He proposed it, so credit to him, formalizing that relationship with the EDC. How we exactly do it, because Ms. Gillette has brought up that might not be advisory opinion, might be overly formalistic language, but that's a matter of semantics. We can work that out. Anyway, ma'am, that's all I really had.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Not to put our town planner on the spot, but now I'm really curious what you have to say on this. Feel free to say no.
No, sure.
Okay.
Todd, you like town planner? So I saw that this was on the agenda and I reached out to Kendra to get a copy of what had been submitted. And I looked through it and I had a couple of comments. Generally speaking, I think this is a great idea. I think calling an advisory opinion is not what it should be called, because that's a very specific activity engaged in for a very specific purpose. But if you have like a formal recommendation or you call it something else, but it has the same kind of spirit to it, I don't have any problem with it at all. I was a little concerned when I saw advisory opinion and when I saw it kind of commingled with the planning board. Is like, I read that initially as that being a joint.
Yeah.
Like advisory opinion, which I don't think is something that we could do, but generally speaking, I think it's a great idea. If you wanted to task me with working on this further in concert with Councilor Madnick and the EDC chair, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, definitely. That was my initial thought when I saw the advisory opinion section. To me, I read that and I was like, we're getting two of the same opinions because we're asking the EDC to also review the comp plan and also kind of provide the same, 1, 2. So that didn't make sense to me, but I do appreciate that the EDC have been very active in providing opinions on various things that have come up. And I'm sorry it's reactive, but we can find a way to get you into the fold a little sooner so it's not so reactive.
And I would just note, generally speaking, that if any members of the council have any components of the regulations that they would like to see changed, that they think is not workable, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to workshop things. I mean, you can't necessarily direct me to do anything specific. I actually reached out to them of my own volition, out of curiosity and thinking, oh, hey, maybe this might be an idea that you would consider. But I'm happy to do that. My office is right up there. So
awesome. Thank you.
And that's also true for, members of the public, members of boards and commissions. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome. I saw Aaron's hand.
Yes, so I do agree with Talia. I think calling it advisory opinion might formalize something. I do initially have a little concern of 1858. That's a zoning ordinance that requires a 3-week extensive advertisement. That's kind of costly. So if we're going to do this, we align it maybe with those other amendments we're currently making to reduce that cost. I think the council could have the authority to give the power in amending the EDC ordinance, as well as having a referral practice, maybe in rules or procedures, because we're not even considering, you know, we would have to amend Title V business regulations for a review for all of those items and the land use and subdivision regulations. So I believe it could probably be attempted in another way. Why I do think it's a great idea is any of these land or business title, it's a referral or an opinion or notification when it comes time to advertise it for public hearing. But 1858 has a very strict 3-week expensive newspaper advertisement that some of our other ordinances don't have. So we might want to wait on timing to incorporate it when we do all of our SOPs, if you want to go that way, just as a savings. But I think you could empower the EDC in 418, but also there's got to be consideration on Title V licensing, all the other ordinances we bring forward. So it might be a practice of council when we refer those ordinances for public hearing versus an ordinance amendment in every chapter, giving them that power.
Awesome. You have more to add?
Yeah, one thing that I noted as I was having this conversation with Councilor Madnick and EDC Chair Parker was that we might have to look at other different sections of the regulations. It may be that we add language in 1858. It may be that we add language elsewhere. But I think overall, the idea is good. It's something that we should follow through with. So how we do that, we're still shopping that a little bit, but overall, I think it's a great idea.
Sure. Go ahead, Councilor Constantine.
Just out of curiosity, any business people on the EDC?
Yes, sir, there are. We certainly do. Yeah, our business seat is actually filled by Mr. David Allen. He's the owner of the Stagecoach House Inn. He's not a Richmond resident, so he holds that non-resident business owner seat. He does, in fact. Dave Woodmansee is the owner of Woodmansee Insurance, of course.
Are there openings on the EDC there?
There are 2. Yes, sir. There are 2.
Thank you, Talia.
For residents. And I will soon be a business owner as well for my aviation firm. So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
My past experience has been with EDC and industrial development. 99% of the committee was made up of local business people. Big ones like Takeo Manufacturing, Cranston Print Works, the likes of them. In town here, you have Riverhead, you have D'Amber Construction. Now, these people, all right, like the committees I sat on, they were more than willing to sit on these committees because the knowledge and the experience that these people bring, not only do they deal in Richmond, but Riverhead, as an example, have outlets all around the state in Connecticut. They know all the ins and outs. When you're talking ordinances and whatnot, if you're trying to come up with new ordinances or revise your current ordinances, really the best people to have there sitting on your EDC are the business people in town, the likes of Riverhead, Dave D'Amber over at D'Amber, Ready Mix, Stop and Shop. These people, these people have multiple statewide, interstate businesses that can bring a lot of insight. So when you're changing ordinances and whatnot, you really need people like that sitting on the EDC if you really want to effectuate really some good change that will make the town prosper, because you cannot do away with that kind of insight and experience that these people have.
Perfect. Thank you. I saw Councilor Palmigano's hand up. Good.
Yeah, I just was going to say that and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, the counselor can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure if he's had an opportunity to catch up with EDC Chair Parker yet. Because one of the things that has been amazing about his tenure is you frequently are having conversations with each and every of the business owners in this town.
That's correct.
You've been extremely proactive. I think you've met with everyone several times. You have connections with them that whether they may or may not sit on the committee, which I think is a good idea to have them involved in there. But you've also reached out to Rhode Island Commerce. I think it would be great if you could take the opportunity when it worked for both of you, just to update Councilor Calasante on the amazing work you've done. It has been a sea change as far as Gary's proactivity from what we may have been experiencing in the past. So
We should probably bring it back to these changes tonight, though.
Yeah.
I think I have said in the past, we had somebody, when we were talking about the vacancies, I said, the only requirement to join the EDC is you got to keep up with Gary's energy. The only requirement we have.
And I did hand out a few books at one of my meetings as well.
Oh,
So there's some required reading.
We've had that.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
stuff.
But absolutely. And if I may, real quick for Councilor Colasanti, we've done exactly that with the relationships with the town business owners. In fact, Mr. Carl Waddenston of VibeCo, of course, we've got a developing relationship with him that we actually established a year ago, and just kind of refreshing that as well. We've had it at you can see in our agendas. We've had large scale developers come to our meetings and as guest speakers. We've had local businesses come to our meetings as guest speakers. And we have, of course, done the footwork and gotten out there to actually meet people and hand out our business cards, our recruiting cards, because we're actively recruiting, in fact, from the business community now. So yes, sir, so spot on. That's exactly what we're doing, and we do appreciate the engagement of the entire council for sure.
So going back to these changes to get you guys even more involved.
Yes, ma'am.
Next steps, I guess, would be to have you guys refine it a little more.
I would request
Yeah.
that we take no action tonight and let us keep working on it. It seems very simple, but then when you start getting into just the planning and land use issues, there's timing and things that I didn't consider when we put this together. So Talia's been a big help there. And then we have to discuss how we actually manage when things go on the agenda and how the EDC is notified and all of that. So I think there's going to be a lot of work that needs, which is why I put this forward and just here's all the information and let's see where we go. So I didn't necessarily want to take action tonight, but I wanted to put it on the agenda so people understood what we were trying to do. So I would just request that you let us kind of keep working at it and we will come back. I think one of the most important part is adding the EDC to workflow is we don't slow down the pace that we do things, right?
Right.
We don't want to increase the time frame. We already know government works very slowly. We don't want to make it worse. So we're trying to streamline it and give everyone a voice.
Right, and that would be my, I'll go to Councilor Reynolds first because I went before, and then I'll go to me.
No, that was my thought. I think, said this a lot. We need to keep it simple, stupid. And, and it could be as simple as, again, we develop a practice of if we're considering an ordinance change that could affect a business, we just send a notification to the EDC. Or if the planning board is considering a amendment to the zoning that's going to affect business, they send a notification. Falls in your court. If you have the capacity, and I would call it a position statement, to provide a position statement on the proposed, so be it, do it. And if it's received, it would be considered by whatever the body is that's considering the amendment. And if they don't have the capacity or choose not to, then it's not. But it's not something that, as Councilor Madnick said, we should be waiting around for to slow the process. But certainly, it's simple as we can keep it. Referral, provide your input, so we can put it all into the hopper that's being considered.
Yeah, that was in part of the draft where it said the Economic Development Commission shall provide a written opinion. That was like the only thing that made me a little nervous, because if they have to, with the committee having 2 vacancies, what if they don't get a quorum? What if they're not able to make a special meeting on time? So making it more of an opportunity, but not really a requirement.
You could say that for the planning board. We've just been fortunate that the planning board has been full and has had a quorum for years. But there could be an opportunity where the planning board or the EDC or one of our other boards commissions doesn't have a quorum. So understood. I mean, that's definitely a concern. If we was planning board members as well.
Yeah, true.
President,
Yes, sure.
one last bite of the apple. It would really be good to get as many business people because they talk. And once you get enough people on there, I'm thinking of one gentleman, he's a billionaire. I mean, the guy does, I don't want to mention his name, but he does. I mean, his work is second to none. Everything he does is tailored to perfection. He doesn't cut any corners. But he was on the committee. He is well aware of any changes that the council or economic development was proposing. And then he gets on the horn right away. And he then talks to a few people and whatnot. And then the network works phenomenally. And the support, you want to streamline things, that's a beautiful thing. You know, because I'm thinking of one person, you know, like in Hopkinton, just a small 5-unit subdivision. They made things so difficult. He ended up selling it at a $20,000 loss and said, I'm done with this. And that's not fair. This gentleman does a great job. What he would have done with that 5-lot subdivision would have been really good, but not streamlining things. And now he talks. And now he tells other developers what's going on. And that's not good when that kind of talk, all right, is something that is being, you know, pushed forward. So we need it, like about next year's budget and whatnot, we need development quick.
Thank you.
Exactly. And we are actively looking at the land use and subdivision rules. In fact, worked on that over the past couple of months, some changes to the development plan review checklist. In fact, trying to find some maneuvering space where maybe the whole checklist wasn't required. But again, requires a lot of subject matter expertise, and it's not quick. I think to Vice President Reynolds' point, exactly, sir. We're not going to slow anything down, you know. And I move pretty quick. The team moves pretty quick, and as long as we're not in reactive mode, because that's when actually when things get bad, is now all of a sudden something's hitting your desk, and now we're trying to address it when it's already kind of time late, and so that's where the frustration actually comes. So it should be a value-added process, absolutely.
Awesome. So
Thanks, Pam.
thank you. Guess we'll move on to our next item. A request from Vice President Reynolds for discussion consideration of a resolution requesting restoration of state aid, Richmond.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So as we've discussed during the budget process, this year, when the governor proposed his budget to the General Assembly, he decreased the amount of state aid to education for Richmond by over $330,000, which is a huge hit to us. We haven't had changes in our demographics. We haven't had changes in our population, but for some reason, we're out $330,000. So this is a resolution to send to the General Assembly to request that when they're preparing the budget, that they increase the amount that Richmond gets for state aid to education by $331,064. So we are equal with what we got last year. It's that simple. It'll help us tremendously with our budget if that happens. And, you know, this is the kind of thing that they need to hear. They need to hear. If we want it back, we need to ask for it. We just can't sit here and hope that it happens. So,
yeah,
you know, we need to do something to push that. So that's what this is all about.
Awesome. Do you have a motion? I'm going to let him give it to his motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution requesting restoration of state aid, state education aid to the town of Richmond as presented.
Second.
Perfect. Any council discussion?
Um,
Sure. Go ahead.
Spot on. Thank you very much. Not only should last year's figure be reinstated, but there should also be the increase in the budget that we saw from Charahoe taken into account, plus the inflation and whatnot. So we should really be looking at an increase of, I figured, about 465,000. All right, at least at a minimum from the state, not just what they gave us last year, because that just doesn't cut cut it with a knife. It really doesn't. You know, that doesn't even keep up pace, which is, you know, asking them to And they would love for us just to ask that, you know? As a bargaining, negotiating, I want to see us ask, we come up with a figure, we can ask our finance director, what the true figure should be for this year in state aid that we should be getting due to the increase in the cost of operating the Charahoe school system, all right, plus inflation and everything else that even RIPEC, all right, looks at. So that figure should be really about 465,000 from what I figure. So I agree with you 100%, but we shouldn't cut ourselves short either. Because again, that's less our people are gonna have to come up with. So my number's about 465.
Well, send your letter.
Any further council discussion?
Madam Chair. So I definitely agree with this. One thing I think it's important to note is it's really difficult to plan fiscally and financially if you don't know what your revenue is going to be. And considering that the school budget, state budget, and the town budget all happen at the same time, we always find ourselves in this situation where we don't really know where we're going to be until after all the votes are done, which is actually really poor financial planning. That's a bigger issue, I think, with the way that the state and our community deals with all the finances that we have to handle. But I think simply the state requires that the school budget have what's called a maintenance of effort, meaning you can level fund, but you can never go below that. And I think it's reasonable and fair for the state to have a maintenance of effort for state education aid, such that we know every year we're going to get the same amount of aid that we had the previous year, which allows us to at least plan for that. This situation is we're actually losing state aid that we already were accounting for from the previous year, which makes it even harder to plan financially. So I think it's fair for us to ask the state to say, look, you require a means of effort for the school. The state should also have a means of effort for state aid. That's a bigger conversation, not one that we can handle tonight, but I think Councilor Reynolds' resolution here is a good jumping off point to have that discussion.
Definitely. All right, we'll go for a vote. Councilor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Awesome. On to communications, petitions, proclamations, and resolutions. Can we have a motion to, well, does anybody have anything to pull? All right, we'll go for our motion to file.
So moved.
Second?
And our roll call vote. Councilor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. All right, we do have executive session tonight, so can we have a motion to end?
Motion to enter executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law, section 42-46585, potential land acquisition.
Second, we'll go for our roll call vote. Councilor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. All right, we're recording, we're all good? Awesome, thank you so much. Can we please have a motion to exit executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Go for a roll call vote. Counselor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Montano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. Can we have a motion to seal the executive session minutes?
So moved, Madam President?
Go for a roll call vote. Counselor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Montano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. There was one vote taken in executive session. I'm going to ask our town administrator who took our notes to please read it for us.
Made by Vice President Reynolds, seconded by Councilor Palmigano, that shall there be an inquiry regarding the acquisition of the Hope Valley State Barracks, that the town administrator is authorized to disclose that the barracks was not suitable for the police station or community center.
Perfect. And that was a unanimous vote. Awesome. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. Go for a vote. Counselor Colasanti.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Montano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.